A second here, guys, to get set up. Is this unit 4? Is this somebody's? Oh, that's yours. Okay, I was just going to move it a little bit. All right, is everybody set up and ready to go? Good afternoon. I'm Marc Paolino, the commander of the Aurora Police Department's Investigation Bureau. With me is Lieutenant Seth Robertson. He's a lieutenant over the Special Victims Section. We're here today to provide an update to the public about the investigation of a missing 14-year-old girl who was located safely yesterday in Las Vegas. I'm going to begin with a brief timeline of events to take you through what occurred during this investigation, and then we'll open it up for questions. So on Monday, June 16th, we received the initial 911 call for service for a missing person. Our patrol officers showed up and took a report of missing person, possible runaway report. We found out later that about 2 a.m. Monday night, Christian Williamson, one of the suspects, had driven to the girl's house and picked her up and took her to a hotel in Lakewood at 2 a.m. on Monday. On Tuesday, June 17th, a second suspect, whose name has been identified as Cameron Scruggs, drives to Colorado from Las Vegas, and Christian hands the victim off at that point to Cameron. We've just learned in the last couple of hours, please remember this is an ongoing, unfolding investigation, and we're getting more information as the investigation continues. In the last couple hours, we've just learned that we believe a female accomplice, an adult female accomplice, was with Cameron when he drove to Colorado and picked up the victim. Our investigators are actively working to identify this victim, or this second suspect. Patrol officers and detectives respond back to the residents to follow up because they receive more information about what's going on with the victim, and some concerning information comes out. So detectives show back up and continue the investigations, start looking at social media, start doing, our PIO starts making media releases, and we start ramping things up. On Friday, June 19th, CBI issues a missing endangered alert to further get this information out. We begin to widen the net. We realize that it potentially has gone outside of Aurora and keeps expanding. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children then releases information nationally about what we have and bulletins. On Sunday, June 21st, the parents then recontact our detectives, and they let the detectives know that they found a journal, the victim's journal. And detectives at that point receive only portions of the journal screenshots. They start looking for them, looking through them and find that there's a detailed plan of the runaway. There's some names in there of possible suspects. There's other pertinent information that detectives start working on. On Monday, June 22nd, detectives get the actual journal and begin following up on leads from everything in the journal. Detectives also, based on what they find in the journal, start diving into the social media accounts on stuff that's written in there that's given them places to go look. On Tuesday, June 23rd, detectives develop the names of the possible suspects, Christian Williamson and Cameron Scruggs. Detectives develop possible location of Christian at that point, which is up in Kremling, Colorado. Plan is developed to work in conjunction with other agencies at that point to expand the investigation into Grand County, Colorado. On the morning of Wednesday, June 24th, the Aurora Police Department, in conjunction with the FBI and the Kremling Police Department, contact Christian at his house in Kremling. Christian is then arrested and starts providing information to detectives about Cameron, who's in Las Vegas. Search warrants are written by detectives and executed at Christian's house at that point. On the afternoon of Wednesday, June 24th, our investigators start to coordinate with the FBI in Las Vegas and the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, and they start surveilling where we believe Cameron is living out in Las Vegas, and they launch their investigation. During the surveillance operation, Cameron arrives in a vehicle and he's taken into custody. And at this point, the victim is located inside of Cameron's residence. Christian Williamson is subsequently charged with internet sexual exploitation of a child and internet luring of a child, and he's booked into the Grand County Jail. Cameron Scruggs is facing kidnapping charges in Colorado, and in addition, he's facing statutory sexual seduction by a person 21 or older in Nevada, where he is currently in custody. Additional charges against both are expected. As I said, this is an ongoing investigation, and we still have a ways to go and a lot of tasks to accomplish, and we believe that be more charges in this. The Aurora Police Department's Internet Crimes Against Children Unit led the investigation with the assistance of the Special Victims Section. Additional agencies involved in the investigations include, it's a bit of a long list, but we're very, very grateful about their help. Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Arapahoe County District Attorney's Office, Westminster PD, Lakewood PD, Kremling PD, Douglas County Sheriff's Office, Grand County Sheriff's Office, Las Vegas Metro PD, Homeland Security Investigations Denver Office, FBI's Denver and Las Vegas field offices. I'd like to commend the dedicated work of our investigators and thank all of our law enforcement partners who assisted us in this investigation. But we can't lose sight of the fact that this was frightening and traumatic event for the victim and for everybody, quite frankly, who knows her family, her schoolmates, her teachers, all the people who got involved and showed so much care and concern for her. But parents really, really need to be involved in all levels of their kids' lives, including in knowing what they're doing online and with their electronic devices, with their telephones, with their computers, in all aspects of their day-to-day lives. So what we recommend is a three-prong approach when dealing with your kids, and that's to have these conversations before something terrible happens, to have open lines of communication, set those expectations, let your kids know that you are going to be checking their devices, which is the second approach, and make sure that you're going in there and you're checking their device. If you're afraid or uncomfortable in doing that, then that's a problem, because the entire world has access to your child through their electronic device, and we need to remember that as parents. And then the third prong is that if you find something on there that's concerning, you need to ask them about it. You need to look into it. You need to research it. You need to get online and find out what these things are. This whole situation came about from chat rooms and social media. And by taking precautionary measures, we can never guarantee anything, but we can definitely try. And the best time to try is yesterday. The second best time is right now. So make sure that you're aware of what's going on with your kids. And I'd just like to say in closing that there's plenty of resources online, but one of the very best one and all-encompassing is the website for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. If you type that in, they have all kinds of classes, they have all kinds of guides for parents, ways to look at kids' phones, different things that they can do. And if you forget that, just Google how to keep my child safe. There's tons of resources online. There's tons of different apps that you can get that track your kids' phones and track what they're doing and watching. There's all kinds of stuff. But in this tragic situation, we're very, very fortunate that we found her. It could have had a very bad ending, but it didn't. So as parents, I just would encourage you to make sure that you're taking an interest in what your kids are doing. We know that at the end of the day, it's the last thing you want to do is check your kid's phone and get in an argument about it, but it's a life or death situation. So I'll now open this up for questions.
In case, I'm Paulista Oaxaca affiliation. In case a parent faces something like this, what are the steps to follow to support the authorities in the best way?
I want to make sure I heard your question right. You're saying if the parents come across something like this, what should they do?
Yes.
Yeah, they certainly, we have a ton of resources they can call us, because a lot of times parents don't even know what they have when they find stuff on the phone or social media. They don't realize that these are predators trying to get their kids and lure them out of the house. So contact the police department if they feel like they can't get enough resources by looking into it themselves. We're happy to send you resources, talk to you, come out there to double check, to look at the devices or find out, determine if there's a crime. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, excellent. And also,
Oh, also, sorry, one more.
now our immigrant community is a little bit of scared of approaching the authorities because of everything that is happening. What would you tell those families that might be afraid but need to go to the authorities?
I would say the same thing that when we're dealing with the public for any crime, that our job as police is to ensure the rights of all people in the state of Colorado, no matter what their legal status is or what their situation is. And our job is to protect our citizens and protect our kids. And that's our goal. And if you call us, that's what we're going to be focused on, not something else, not somebody's status or who they are or what they are.
Mark, did you say what the relationship was between Christian and Cameron? Did those two people know each other?
So we believe that they met online through these different chat rooms. We don't know exactly what this relationship. That's part of the ongoing investigation. It's very peculiar because Christian lived in Colorado and Cameron lived in Vegas, and they did some sort of a handoff. So we don't know if there's a prior association with them or relationship, but we know that at some point some relationship was established and some devious things began to occur.
And did Erica know both of them as far as you know? Did she have prior contact with both Christian and Cameron?
We believe that they had prior contact just online, and that through these chat rooms and different social media, they somehow came together. We don't know, again, what exactly the extent of that is, how that came together. That's all part of the investigation.
Could there be more victims?
Absolutely.
Can you speak to Erica's condition? How is she doing? You said she was found safe. Was she hurt in any way?
She was evaluated by the FBI and the Victims Advocates, the Department of Human Services out there, and she's currently in the custody out there with them, so she's being taken care of and tended to, and we're not going to go into anything further out of respect for her and her privacy of her and her family but she's alive and well with the authorities out there.
Can you speak to the condition she was being held in Las Vegas? Was there comfortable? Was she being held captive?
I don't have a lot of information on it. My understanding was it was at somebody's apartment.
Do we believe she was attacked or hurt in any way while she was there?
At this point, it's unknown. You can infer from the charges that certain things happen, but please be respectful that this is somebody's child, and we don't want to get too into the weeds or details about what exactly she experienced. But
Can you mention which app or web that was used to make contact between the victim and the alleged predator?
there's several apps. What were some of the apps? Do you?
I am Seth Robertson with the Aurora Police Department, if that was not previously established. But we established multiple social networking, social media applications that they had utilized for their conversations and their contacts online with each other. A lot of them are very common social networking sites and social media sites such as Discord and Reddit. But at this time, we don't have specific one site that they utilize as like a cautionary to anybody. It's more of a cautionary to all parents that if your child is out there and they are utilizing social networking and social media sites, that it is your responsibility as a parent to know who are they conversing with, because a person can easily say online that they are one person when we know in real life they are not that person.
This could very well be part of a bigger human trafficking case, and these social media sites is where they all happen. So that's why it's just so important that the parent is looking and knowing who they're friending and who they're associating with, because they're giving, again, as I said earlier, access to the entire world to their children when they give them a phone, and it can't be overstated. And it's very difficult to stay up with all different apps, but if you look at stuff and look at pictures and texts, you're in there, you're asking questions, you're being part of your child's life. They might hate you for it for a little bit, but hopefully that someday they'll thank you for it. Go ahead.
Is she now with her family?
The question was, is she now with her family? She is still in Las Vegas with the custody of Department of Human Services in Las Vegas, or Nevada.
And when she comes back to her family?
So that'll be the reunification process will be handled with our Department of Human Services and through the family. They'll determine the appropriate reunification process.
Was there video surveillance at the hotel in Lakewood or any video surveillance in Las Vegas of these movements of the victim and the perpetrators?
Yes, that was part of our investigation. That's part of how we figured out where they were, where they went, where they were going, and when they were there.
Have you seen that video?
I have not personally seen it.
Did it appear that she was okay in that video or willing to be with them at that point? Or?
Well, I can say this, that, and I think I know where you're getting at, is was she a willing participant? A 14-year-old is still a child, and under our laws, she can't consent to the stuff that she was part of. So, willing participant or not, we would say no, she's not a willing participant because she's not of the mature mental capability to make those decisions.
She's a victim.
Yeah.
The two suspects, where are they now? Are they in custody, did you say? And in which police departments are they at this time?
Yeah, so Christian, who is the one in Kremling, is up in Grand County.
Yes, he's currently in Grand County Jail, as we know of right now. And then the other person, Cameron, he is currently in custody in Las Vegas. I don't know which exact jail that is, but in Las Vegas, Nevada.
And you guys may have already provided this, and I don't know, but the full names and date of births, are those being provided so that we can ask for probable cause affidavits?
They should be up there on the screen.
Thank you.
Any reason to believe that Christian or Cameron had done something like this before?
Well, I can say that if somebody's willing to do something as heinous as this, I wouldn't be surprised if they've done it before. And that's part of the investigation, what we're looking into.
Any idea what their intentions were with this girl in Las Vegas? If they were intending to keep her and hold her or potentially traffic her to somebody else?
Yeah, when you have a 14-year-old girl being lured online, taken to Vegas, yes, those are our thoughts. Is that was something like that was the sinister plan.
Are you aware of these two suspects having any other contact with other children in the past? Or is this their first run-in in a situation like this?
Well, and it's similar to the question we just had of whether or not they've had something similar. We don't know. That'll be part of the investigation. But again, it wouldn't shock me because the level of planning that went into this and the level of the time it took to gain the trust of the person online and then to hatch this plan, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But that's part of the investigation, and we don't know those details at this point.
And I want to go back to the question I asked earlier about more victims. Are you asking parents, do they recognize this person? Do you have solid information that there could be, or you just kind of ask?
Yeah, we have a ton of evidence and computers and cell phones that we're going through. And if pictures or anything that comes up that appears criminal, then we launch additional investigations, and that may happen.
I want to regurgitate what you just said. It sounds to me like you're looking at other possible victims because of evidence that you found in pictures in your investigation.
I'm saying that if we are going through electronic devices, and if we do find that stuff, then it potentially could lead to other victims in other cases. But yeah, that's always a part of this stuff. Anything else?
What are the signs that parents should look at before something like this happens in terms of behavior?
Your kids locked in their rooms with their phones. That's something that kids do anyway. But if they're really private about it and they really get scared or worried, then you have to figure out. That's where that conversation comes. And you have to be ready. They might have something on their phone they're embarrassed about, but that's not what you're worried about. And so maybe that's the conversation. Look, you may have this. You may have been looking this online. I get it. You're curious. But what you're looking for as a parent is somebody trying to lure you, to groom you. So I think it's looking at that behavior and just really having those conversations and making sure that they respect the fact that you're their parent and you have that right.
Thank you. And is there any programs for prevention of something like this here in Aurora?
Yeah, so we work with the schools, but in addition, like I said, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, on their website, they offer a ton of programs, a ton of videos, and all kinds of stuff like that that would help educate parents. Okay, time for one more question?
Yeah, our victim here is 14 years old. She's been through a pretty traumatic ordeal. Is this something she's able to assist in the investigation with right now? Is she able to cooperate with the FBI and with these multi-state agencies, or is she having a hard time doing that right now?
Well, I'll just be real quick, that we have special forensic interviewers who are trained to, when the child is able to and when they're in a state where they're okay to speak, that we set up those interviews, and we hope to do those types of interviews, but we don't do them until they're mentally and physically able, if they ever are.
And she isn't right now?
We don't, she's not even in the state right now, so that's not something that we're even thinking about. We're getting her reunified with her family and making sure she's okay will be the first part, but yes, it'll be something at some point. So, well, thank you very much, everyone.